Hey, how we doing today? It's Don. Show is live. Give me just a second here. We have semi-technical glitch. Let me move over to a different screen. I can get my studio mode on. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. Hang on just a second here. Just want to have everything ready. The wife will be on in just a little while here. I've got the usual notes and the whole works, just like we usually do. Hopefully everybody can see everything and hear everything just fine. Hang on just a second here. Okay, hang on just a second. I'm sorry. We're a little bit behind, as always, it seems. Busy week. I've got some things to touch on here, such as, let's see... Oh, thank you, Carl. Geez, I really appreciate that, Carl. I don't call out stuff like that too much, ask for stuff like that. But again, I do appreciate it, the super chat, Carl. We try to do what we can. Thanks, Carl. Let's just start the live show up properly. Well, good evening, everybody. Let's see who is in here. And again, thank you, Carl. Where are we? Hate to start off a little disorganized today. It's been pretty busy. I stopped doing something like 4 minutes till the hour. I had everything set up. Messed around with the webcam adjustments. I've got a new laptop coming in, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the technical issues we have. It's got the new Intel Optimum memory, I think it's called, or something. It's like a fast cache instead of RAM. It's something totally new. It's not like an expensive, outrageous thing, but Optane, I think, maybe, or something along that line. I saw one working and it just blew me away. So it's not as fast as an SSD drive or something, but it really was impressive for what it was and the cost. So anyway, that's what's going to be the new live show laptop for us here too. I might show some of our equipment here, maybe here either on YouTube or on Patreon. For those in Patreon too, video 28 is actually uploading right this very second. The minute I'm offline, I'm going to be able to post it right up to Patreon tonight. So video 28 will be up. I'm going to wait a few more minutes till a few more people get in here, and I've got some eBay myths and some facts on stuff that's going on here. And Giovanni Spagnolo pointed out something here which we'll call out too. He's one of our subs here, and he had talked to eBay, so I want to wait just a few more minutes on that till we get some more people in here, because these are some very important things going on with the new update. And this has been brought to me now, and I actually checked on this, so all this stuff is pretty much dead on with what I've seen and read. So Carl, we know, is here already, and again, thank you so much, Carl, for that. Aaron, how you doing, Aaron? Hopefully your day is going pretty good. Let's see here. Black Crystal Dice, how are you doing? Let's see. Carl Bach, how the hell do you tag people when I comment? I hate phones, but I can't bring my PC out to the pool. I couldn't tell you on a phone. I have never been on a chat on the phone whatsoever on a YouTube anything. When I'm gone, I'm not a big phone person unless I am actually sourcing. We did some RA, and then I stopped by a sale. Just something else I got today. For those in Patreon, you know, this is an 1849 Bible. Paid $1 for it. Literally at a church sale. I'll probably get like $40 out of this thing, just FYI. I got RA items today. I'm going to just do one other thing since we're here before we get some more folks on. I don't know if I have to cover this up, but this is a Spanish-American War pension paperwork, the entire thing. It's got the guy's name. He was actually a private in Company G, 38th Regiment, Ohio Infantry during the Spanish-American War. I've got his actual military records on order right now. I've got a friend who does that for me, so stuff like that, if he has some major action, something like that will be worth some money. That's the original document. That's actually the one that was signed. It's got seals on it from 1899. And again, I paid $2 for those. I've got like $100 in those two items. My RA trip today, I went to Kroger's, just FYI. Kroger's around here has been getting some incredibly good deals. I picked up toys today, action figures. oh geez, Star Wars ones. And I'm not going to make a fortune on them, but I'm making $4 to $7 a pop on 27 action figures I bought today from Kroger's. Literally in just a couple minutes, it was all in one area. I bought a Keurig cappuccino machine for like a third what they're going for right now. Mint in the box. I bought some other stuff like that. But if you've got a Kroger's around your area, it might be worth you looking into. Just FYI for those who do RA. I know I don't touch on RA too much, but I do it a lot. I've got a lot of competition around here, so if I call something out, my worry is that it'll be gone before I even get a chance to go to all the stores in the area. So I might throw some more RA in here occasionally. I do FBA, I do Amazon, done Amazon for over 3 years now, and it's almost doubled almost every year that we've been on in sales. But I put vintage up too, so when I add vintage on eBay, a lot of it goes up on Amazon or one of the other sites. We've got a few more people, and let me just touch on I've had some questions on talking about some of the other sites that are out there to sell on. Ruby Lane was brought up, and I've used Ruby Lane, years ago. Ruby Lane's been around for a decade or more, maybe 2 decades. I'm not really sure how long, but we used it years ago. I've looked into it recently. We're trying to figure another way to add another site. I think we've got the bottleneck done and fixed. We had a bottleneck. I couldn't do any more sites just because I couldn't figure another way to add a 10th spot in, but we're going to look into something else now. There's a lot of options, but for me, Ruby Lane doesn't have enough of a draw of the items that I would sell, and I just wouldn't have many people there looking to actually buy it, just FYI. McCrary, or however it's pronounced, same thing. I sell a lot of vintage, and I don't do clothing or household too much, so that site as well isn't going to be a prime area for me. Somebody else brought up the HIP site, HIP. If you're not familiar with that, you might want to check it out. Some of it, they'll actually cross-list your items for you, like postcards. They've got a HIP postcards. They've got a HIP postage stamps. Oh, geez, and there's one more HIP site, too. It used to be sponsored in a site run by Stanley Gibbons, if you're familiar with that. That's the company that made all the price guides, and I think they actually still do make the price guides, mostly the UK price guides for postage stamps. So if you do those type of materials at all, those are very good sites to use. And if you import your items in from eBay, it will actually take them down if it sells on their site for you. It's integrated into the system. So it's only for postcards, that site. Or if you're on the stamp site, it's only for stamps. I may touch on some of those actually in some videos because we do deal with those sites as well as some other sites. This is just one of the questions I get sometimes on that, and what are some of the other sites we do. I don't give out too much information on some of the other spots that we do. My love and what I really enjoy the most is eBay. I've done it since eBay was called eBay the very first year, so I've got a big thing for eBay. They do a bunch of bad stuff too, so I'm not stick up for them when they do something wrong. So that's just my opinion. I got a few more people in here. I'm just going to touch on just a few things here. eBay myths and things that I hear talked about. And again, this is no offense to anybody whatsoever if anybody else has had issues or thoughts about this. Like one of the ones that was brought up, and it's been brought up several times by several people, and then I've gotten 2 emails on this too, is that if you have 12 photos up for every one of your items, you're going to get better views. Now, that would make no sense in the world to have 12 photos of a postcard. That would not be something that they would even consider in my book. Having an IT degree in database construction, design, implementation, analysis, the whole works, it just makes no sense. The thing that I can tell you on eBay is the only thing that they pay attention to, and for those of you who were on in June of last year, the only thing they seem to pay attention to is if there's more than one photo. For those of you, I'm going to talk a little bit differently on the technical aspect of it. I'm not going to go into all the technical details. I'm just going to give you the basics here. Your list page on eBay is like a bookcase that is permanently fixed to eBay, and all your stuff that you type in there goes into a shelf. That shelf is basically a server somewhere else. So all the key stuff that sits on your page, every box you put in could technically be in a different spot on a different server on eBay. The only thing that we know for fact on eBay is that one photo is always tied to your main listing information all the time on a different server. The other 11 photos, if you put them up, would all be on a different server, because when the photos photos were all lost in June, the apocalypse, when all those or maybe it was 800,000 stores lost photos. 800,000 different sellers lost photos on eBay. The basics of it is eBay admitted that all the other photos are pulled from another location. The links were cut. So that means that they can instantly tell, and we already knew this before, can tell that, there's more than one photo. That is the only key aspect that I can see, and that all the information points to that they care about or look for are at least 2 photos on a listing. It just wouldn't make any sense to force people into doing 12 photos for a postcard. I'd be doing, 9 of just nothing, just the same image over and over and over and over again. It would be a total waste of time. There is no sense in it. I can't see anybody in their right mind whatsoever doing that for a listing. So, that's a myth as far as I'm concerned, that you have to have 12 photos up. I don't care, what somebody says, the logic, the math, the technology, the IT aspect of it's just not there. We do know, though, that they do store all the other photos. So they also will give you a notification that when you go to edit or relist, it says, hey, increase the amount of photos for it. So we know they know that. And we know that because they pull them from one spot to put them in the bookcase, basically. I mean, that's how I see it going. And I've had confirmation from eBay that that's how basically the whole process works. I've talked to the same person at eBay. We have basically what you'd call concierge service. They actually answer the phone, concierge. Now that's all they answer. They used to just say, thank you for calling eBay. Now every time I call in the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks, it's always concierge. I guess they don't want to have any difference between anchor stores and those getting concierge at eBay opened. So, that's just how it works with there. And I've talked to that same person. She has IT information, she has an IT degree, and she does a store of her own besides doing eBay. So she is one that I've talked to quite extensively, more than anybody else at eBay, the same person. I'm not going to call any names because it's just not my place to be calling out somebody, but she's been very helpful. I usually call the same time, and then end up talking to the same 2 people. This one I've talked to more. So we know some good stuff about eBay. The other thing that, I can't see any evidence for, nor any tests, is when you go in and edit stuff but don't really do anything, just trying to make your listing active. It doesn't change the item number. It doesn't change any features. It's not changing the title. It's not changing any of the information that's stored on a server. So technically it's doing nothing. I mean, from a technical IT standpoint, there's nothing going on there. It's not refreshing or anything like that I can see ever, nor has anybody at eBay actually said that could be even a thing from what I see at all. Now, if you go in and edit something and you actually change the title or something, obviously that's going to do something. It could change your ranking. It could change your search results. It could change a whole bunch of stuff. So, and the other thing is on promoted listings. Now, I've run the test on 1%, 2%, trying to boost some sales. The one thing, and again, this is not calling out to anybody because there's 3 different channels that had videos on this within the last 24 hours about doing the promoted listings, and that 1% will get you this and get you that. If there's not people on there for your specific item, it's not going to do any good to advertise it or pay for anything like collectibles. Now, if you got clothing or something, you can possibly get a push. I don't do clothing, so I haven't tested that. So everybody else could be 100% right on clothing that doing a 1 or 2% could do something for you. I know it creates a second ad. I know the whole technology and the aspect on what they're doing. But for collectibles, if there's not somebody on, they're not going to buy it. And most of the items that I sell, there's not one specific person on that might want that item for an entire week. So I would never do it in vintage and collectibles. I've tested it. And when you're testing any of this stuff that I'm talking about here, and I mean any of this stuff, you can't just run it on one store and have a test result that means a thing. You have to have a baseline, meaning when we run a test, I run the exact same items, same everything in 2 different stores. I can have the same title as someone else as long as it's not on the same account, just FYI. So basically, I will have 100 listings on 2 different stores. One will be promoted, one grouping of 100, and the other won't be. That's the only way that you can tell if any of the stuff that all these people are talking about actually does a single thing, because there's no way to compare it. You could have sold those exact same items you put on promoted listings and paid eBay a percentage for, whether you promoted them or not, because the right person was online at that time. So, just keep that in consideration. You have nothing to compare to. So everybody online who's telling you that they ran it in their store has nothing to prove that that is it. Causality does not prove anything based on that assumption. The only way you could prove causality, meaning that by putting on a promotion, that sale directly came from a promotion, is to have two exact identical listings, one without promotion and one with. It's the only way to know whether that is working. I don't care what anybody else tells you. That is the truth. That is the scientific method for doing anything. That is how research works if you don't know that. So again, anybody not testing it in two different stores does not have correct information. Or at least there's no way to prove that it's correct information, I should say. It has to be provable, it has to be testable, and it has to be repeatable for it to actually mean anything. Anything, I'm telling you. Again, I'm not trying to rant or distinguish or cut on anybody who did anything or has any looks into that, because again, it can work for some items, I would imagine. But again, it hasn't worked, or there's no proof whatsoever for vintage and collectibles or books or things like that. Again, clothing may be a whole different area. I'd love to see someone who did, the same 100 items in two different stores, one with promoted and one without, to see if that actually works. Because it really doesn't work. I could toss a coin with the 100 listings that I did, and I didn't do them for just 1 month. We've done them for months on end, here and there. I run listings all the time, or I'll end listings and they'll just sit there. I don't worry if I'm tying up 100 listings on something. I've got more than enough to tie up 1,000 listings on a test, which we have done on several occasions. So just take that into consideration, that if somebody's telling you to do something and they only tested it on their one single store and they have nothing to compare it to, that information is useless in my book. I will not pay any attention to it. I want facts. I don't want to be doing something unless I know, or at least with a reasonable doubt can prove real reasonably that yes, that actually works on something. So I don't want to rant on that too much, but I test my stuff with 2 different stores. Sometimes we've done tests with 3 different stores, the same item running across. If it sells, then I have to take the other ones down. It's only 100 items. It's not that hard to watch. So, that's the only way I could prove that something works. The other thing I hear about is ranking. If you have 2 stores, you can also do 12 photos on one item, and on the same exact item on another store, I could do 3 photos. There's no difference. I don't see any difference in what I personally sell. Now, if you've got like a huge lot of something, I do 12 photos. We've been talking in my Patreon and some of the other conversations I've had about saving time. If you're doing 12 photos for everything, you're doubling your list time. You're probably doubling, maybe even tripling your list time if you were doing 12 photos. I'm not telling you to not have enough photos, but on an average item like a book or something, I only do 5 photos at the most. On a postcard, I'm only taking 2 photos, but I'm upping the same one twice to do an enlargement, so then I still have a second and a third photo. So, just take that all into consideration. This is stuff that you can test. Just like when people say that their items aren't showing up. There has not been a single case where somebody told me their items weren't showing up that I didn't find those items, with a search. So it just depends on how you're searching them. If you want to test your store, pull up some items and go to Google and do some tests. Clear out all your browser history. Clear out everything. Log out of every single thing, or go to a fresh browser or a browser in another house or something else or somewhere else. Don't use your phone unless you're clearing everything out, all your caches, everything. And look up for a couple of your items. Use the 3 main keywords. If you're not using the right keywords, that could have a play in where they're pulling up as well, too, because some of the logarithm that I see for searches seems to, let's say you're doing like a fishing reel and you just put in spin casting reel and you didn't put fishing in. It may not rank you the same if you put fishing reel or spin cast fishing reel in that title. So those keywords are really key to some of this. Like if you're doing searches and you want to check on your items, do a Google search as well as doing an eBay search for those items. So again, log out of everything, all clear website. Your browser should be perfectly wiped from start to finish for it to be in good condition. Hang on just a second here. I've got a semi-important thing popped up on here. Hang on one second. Sorry, folks. Not something I usually like to do. Okay, sorry about that. But I don't want to rant on that too much. Now that we've got some folks on here, Giovanni Spagnolo, and I'm hoping I'm not butchering your name too bad. He did not have the actual send offers to your watchers from the hub. He called eBay, and somebody else has told me this is the exact same thing, because I wanted to verify this. I don't want to give out bad information. There are some updates in some of the software you're using that may not allow it to work at your location or on your laptop PC. So he actually called eBay, and eBay actually walked him through doing some buttons and clicking some things, and sure enough, it came on, and he has it now. So, and I've heard that from somebody else. Some other folks have told me that you can they were sending out a link. Now, I'm not going to mess with any links to show you. You'll have to just judge on that one. I've seen the link. Somebody else has posted it in one of my videos. The link took me to something that did not have that feature either. So whether you get the link or not, there may be some actual glitch because of software. Maybe it's in Chrome, or maybe there's some add-on. I'm not really sure what the deal is. I didn't ask and go into depth. I just know that if you call eBay, you don't have the feature, they can get some folks the feature, so you can be sending out offers to your watchers here. So I've got the wife here, so I think she's just come on in. So we are going to pull the wife on in here. Hang on just a second. We've had a good week, so I've actually got... It's a Tom Collins. We'll just be honest with you today. For those of you who know what a Tom Collins is,
hello.
We're old school, so I grew up drinking. Well, I grew up.
I grew up drinking.
When I was, a teenager, alcohol, you could drink, beer and stuff at 18. And, obviously, me and the wife have been together for a long time, and we've come to like Tom Collins. You can't even go into a bar these days and get a Tom Collins, for those of you who know what that is again. So it's got gin in it. Triple sec sometimes, and then
triple sec.
Well, it depends on who's making it, but anyway, that's Tom Collins. It's like a gin lemonade, I guess, or slow gin fizz, something along that line. Again, probably something most people don't know what that is. I'm sure there'll be some folks in here that know exactly what a slow gin fizz is. Pardon me. We've had, again, as I said, a really busy week. There's been a lot of things going on here, so anyway. Hang on, my feed just acted like there was nothing there, and now suddenly I got a huge section of feed in here. Yeah, I've switched up the background here. Let me get back to where I started at. Let me welcome some more folks in here. Galaxy 5000, how are you doing? Tiffany is here. How you doing, Tiffany? Robert, welcome back. Maria, how are you doing? I've got Kurt Jones. Couple of pickers, welcome this evening. Let's see here. Tara, how are you doing? I think you were here last week as well. I know you've been on many times. I've got Linda. Hello from Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Come on. Oh.
Come on. You got to do that one. Let's see here. Beards and Bolos. Hey, Don, heard someone mention you this morning on Scott's show. I've been on Scott's show. You're talking about the bearded picker. I like Scott. I watched his stuff. Something about sending eBay sales to Amazon for ungating. Can you go over that, please? I have not. I send my items. I've got items on eBay as well as on Amazon, some of my items. With that, I had to send in forms. I'm ungated in collectibles, vintage vinyl, historical. Geez, there's a whole gambit of stuff you get into when you get ungated in collectibles. And I applied. I bugged the heck out of them. But what I had to do was send a list. And I basically literally just downloaded my items in a spreadsheet, the records. I just picked records because it was easiest. And they could actually compare them to some of the newer ones that are actually on Amazon right now, as well as some of the other ones. If I did all the oddball stuff, I figured it might have been lost. But I uploaded, I think it was 500 listings. The title, basically, it was just the title. I just bumped them into an Excel spreadsheet. What Amazon sent me was a Excel spreadsheet, basically. It was probably a text file, not technically an Excel, but it was comma delineated, meaning that I could import it or export Excel information into that, which I use Excel for everything. I love Excel. I shouldn't say a whiz, but I'm really good on Excel just because I've been using it for 20 plus years. And then from there, it took me another month of going back. They rejected it for this reason. They rejected it for that reason. I'll give you a little clue. When they ask you how many items that you expect to sell, 50,000 or more. I don't care if you only have 300 items to sell. You tell them 50,000 items or 5,000 items. You got to tell them thousands. If you tell them you've only got a handful of items, they're not going to take you as seriously. The other thing I can tell you too, when I got ungated, is I literally sent them my eBay store information, as well as some other sites that we were on at the time. So they literally had a ton of information. The forms that I filled out, and I'm again, this was years ago, like 3 years ago, so I don't know what the forms say now, but they asked you what your gross revenue was in that category that you wanted to be ungated in. The average sales a week in that category. I mean, they asked me some actual financial information specifically in collectibles. At that point, it was technically locked. It was a blocked category. They weren't even taking new ones, but I don't know how it came to be, but I literally applied, and they did respond. So I just kept hammering them. And again, as I said, I sent them a notice or a letter or an email or something every day for like 28 straight days. And on the 30th day, they actually sent me a notice and said, I got, or not. They didn't send me a personal notice. I got the little on gate notice for your cases. I don't know if you guys know, but on your main list page on Amazon, in the bottom right, there's a segment that'll say, I can't remember what it says on it. I look at it almost every day too. That's really bad. I'm sure somebody else who does Amazon knows, but it literally, you can look at all the ones you've applied for gating, and I've got like 30 or 40 different things that I've applied for. I haven't gotten ungated on all of them. You're not going to be able to use any of the eBay information for receipts or anything, so don't even think about that. The other thing I hear people talking about is, how can I use receipts from RA and Walmart to get ungated on Amazon? You can't. There's no way on earth that that Amazon is going to take a receipt from any place. The only thing, and I mean the only thing, that Amazon will take when you get to the screen that says submit your invoices is an invoice, an actual full-fledged invoice, and it cannot be like a bill of lading or a will call slip or anything like that. Will call basically means that you're going to pick it up on, at a specific date, and it'll be ready for you. That's basically what it means. There's more to a will call, but those terms are what you'll see. None of that will work. You actually have to have a full-fledged invoice that you paid for, marked paid, with, a zero balance on it. That's the only thing that I have physically been able to get ungated with. If you want to get ungated on Amazon, you're going to have to get some invoices.
Henry.
One of our dogs is down here begging.
Yeah, he stinks. Then
Yeah.
he rolled around in squirrel.
Yeah, he loves rolling around in the squirrel stuff outside. So, anyway, with ungating, I mean, that's it. With collectibles, I got ungated on those. If you want to get ungated in some other things, and I've hollered this one out here, getting ungated in like CDs and DVDs, I got ungated with religious CDs. I had an invoice. I bought, I think it was like 1,500 of them at one spot, all at once. I had to pay in cash. We ended up selling them. We ended up making a lot of money on them, so I couldn't complain. There was actually a Christian radio station by our house, and we used to pick it up on the radio, so I figured what the heck, and ended up getting a good deal on them. We did some good marketing, and it did go. So that got us started on Amazon. We looked more into that after the apocalypse on the books, when Amazon raised the storage fees and pretty much killed the bread and butter for a lot of people. So that's just about it on that. So hopefully that answers it. Other than that, you're going to have to get, if you're doing like RA items, you're going to have receipts if it's an area that you're gated in. I mean, there's areas that I'm gated in or ungated in, I should say, that I still won't sell items in, just because I don't want any issues. Like in Scott, Bearded Picker again, good channel if you haven't checked him out. Scott will tell you too, there's some items that he doesn't mess with, even though he's ungated. I'm not going to mess with Nike shoes. I don't want any issues. I don't want any harassment. I don't mess with shoes either, even RA items. We do a lot of toys, home goods, food, some HBA, health and beauty aids, hub and non-foods mostly, if you know what that is. Anyway, health, beauty aids, and non-foods items. Those are really the key ones here. Stuff like that. I try to have an ROI on RA. I don't like the ones where I see people talking about, $1 here, $1 there, because it's just not worth my time to cushion, jars and things like that on some of the stuff I see people talk about. Maybe it's good to get started and get your foot in the door. Right now, our feet are in the door. We've been on Amazon for a while. We pretty much just get an approval on most areas. Obviously, stuff like Hasbro took a little while and stuff like that. I had to have invoices. Fisher Price, same thing. Some of those you had to have invoices. And even when I've been ungated in certain areas, I can't sell certain items. If you want a good start on getting ungated, Migo. Migo is an easy one to get ungated in from what I see. We were just approved without an invoice. I know some other folks needed an invoice, but you can get lucky with that one too.
I was just reading Duncan's.
Let me work our way down there. Good evening from Atlanta, home of the overpriced antique malls. Yeah, we've been into quite a few in Atlanta. We've got friends who live in Atlanta, Dragon Con and the whole works. I'm sure you being in Atlanta, you know what Dragon Con is. One of these years we're going to go there. We keep talking
We'll be
about
like
this.
80 years old.
Well, life takes its own course.
Right here.
Thanks for the EE wholesale tip. Yeah, that site can be decent for you. It just depends. Prices are high on that site. I've got a video on that if you want to go back on that. I talk about how to get receipts for toys. And you can get name brand toys, Dunnies, whatever you want, the vinyl, the Funkos. You can get receipts from that site. Again, look back on the video. I don't have the link right here in front of me, but look back in the video in the last 2 weeks on that. It literally has RA in the title. So just do a search of RA in my how-to playlist if you want to see it. But it's a site that anybody can get approved in with just a few pieces of paper and a little bit about your business as long as you have a full-fledged business. So, hey, just me, Kathy. How are you doing? I'll get down to you, Duncan, just a second. I talked to somebody else from Australia earlier today, so...
Yeah, I'm sure he knows.
Yeah, it's such a small country that, I got like 5 people now that I go back and forth with from Australia. I read something today that premium stores were going from 1,000 free listings to 500. Is that true? I have not heard that at all. That is not in the update information that I have seen. And the reason I say some of this is because the Australia market seems to be the test market. All of what we're seeing now was rolled out to Australia like a month before we saw it. So, and the person I talked to said that same thing, that, and so now I'm asking them when they find something out. So it looks like a lot of this stuff is being tested in the Australian market and then rolled out here. So if Duncan hears anything, maybe he can give us a shout out there. Let's see what Duncan's... I'm sure it's a spider comment.
I know, that's why I was laughing.
Busy sales here. I feel burned out. Too much work. Big spider day outside.
Big spider web outside.
Yeah, big spider web outside.
I like walking into them. That's fun.
Yeah, we were in Florida in the scrub brush out in some palm hammocks out there, if you know what that is. It's really thick, dense stuff. And if anybody has ever walked into a banana spider web, they're like a 10-foot web. It covers like a tree 10 feet across, and the spiders are like this big. They're not really poisonous, and they do kind of look like a banana, their body part, but they're hard as rock, and if you try to smack one of these things, it'll crunch it. It's just big old spider. They're almost the size of your hand.
I'm going to itch all over.
Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about spiders now. You want to roll it down?
Yeah, I will try.
I see a reference to Rick and Morty. Wubba Lubba Dubba, or Dub Dub,
Wubba
yeah.
Lubba Dub Dub.
That is Rick and Morty, if anybody ever watches that. We do watch Rick and Morty. That is one of our shows. The guy who created Rick and Morty, for those of you, it's, what's it called? Out There?
Out There. Is that the same guy, though?
Yeah, it's Out There. He's actually the voice of 2 or 3 of the characters on a new cartoon. Maybe it's not new, I don't know, but it's Out There, it's called. We just found it on Hulu, actually. I don't watch a lot of shows, but we do like some of the adult cartoons. Futurama was always one of our favorites, too.
Yeah, I liked Bender the Robot.
Let's see, where are we at?
Right here. Right here, I think.
Yeah, Beards and Bolos. At their name. I don't know if you can do that on a phone, Beards and Bolos. I think that is more of it. Hello, David Rubino. I didn't mean to miss you there. The video about sending offers to watchers was very helpful. I've seen several videos about it, but this was the first video that made me realize I was not able to do it. Oh, okay. Hopefully it was helpful. We've had that feature to send offers for like 4 or 5 weeks, I think, at the most. I did them 2 or 3 times. I did like 40 or so on the first batch, and I sold 5 of those 40 items. So, that's not a terrible dealing. Again, I don't know. I guess it's technically possible they would have sold on their own, but I would directly relate it, obviously, to the actual offers I sent out. So,
right here.
Anyway, I see Annie already. How are you doing, Annie? Let's see here. Linger 0x. How long have you been on eBay? Since the very first year eBay was called eBay. Couple decades, two plus decades, 20 plus years. I can tell you, though, we always worked for somebody else until about 7 years ago after we finished college. eBay always saved our butt. Whenever we were living paycheck to paycheck, we were always able to get enough money from eBay to pay whatever or do whatever. So we've always cherished the fact that we could make money anywhere we've lived. And we've lived all over the country. You know, Virginia was a huge area to make money. There's like some great thrift stores in Maryland. Laurel, Maryland, we used to score. And I mean score. I mean, if we would have lived there permanently, like next to that store, we could have literally lived off of one single store. I'm sorry, I've got it.
I wish we knew the name of that.
Yeah, I think it's Community Thrift Store. It's literally right off the Beltway, off 475.
Yeah.
Heading to like, oh geez, no, I can't think of the name of
Mount
the.
Vernon?
No, it was in Maryland. Geez, I can't think of the name of the town. It's near an Einstein Brothers, because I was literally a regional manager for Einstein at the time, and I did Washington, Virginia, Maryland, and I used to go out with one of the drivers and have him drop me off at that store, and on his way back, which was an hour later, he would pick me back up sometimes. Excuse me.
The gigantic bricks, another brick in the wall.
Yeah, another brick in the wall. I just picked something new. Obviously, you have issues with copyright and public domain, so I'm very cautious on the images I use. For those who don't know, some of the images you have to actually pay for in use, and like some of the videos. I had one, the video, which video was it? Shoot. I think it was the one yesterday or the day before that I had to upload 3 different times because it kept calling it a copyright ding on my YouTube. It didn't ding my account or anything. It just, they wanted to monetize it for the other person. Even though I looked up and could verify that it was in public domain, it was for the Titanic video. It was Come Fly With Me, or Come Fly With Me, Josephine, in My Flying Machine, or Come With Me, Josephine, in My Flying Machine. That's what I wanted, and I had a 1911 version of that song that's listed by the U.S. government on the U.S. government's Library of Congress site, as well as archive.com, as being public domain, and I got dinged on that one. I was so frustrated. So the video was actually a different one. There's probably about 25 people who saw the video with the other sound in it, just FYI. So I'm sure there's a few people who did see it with the actual original song. But anyway.
I miss Kroger's.
Yeah, I do like Kroger's. You know, we were there this morning, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but their sushi is actually very, very good sushi for the most part.
Kroger sushi.
They actually have like professional.
Yeah.
The 2 girls are there. They're literally full-fledged Japanese. They're from Japan. They barely speak English, but they're the nicest people in the world, and they make just what I want special for us all the time.
I always get the fake sushi, the California roll.
rolls. Yeah, I like.
I don't do raw fish.
Well, it's been frozen in the whole works.
I'll just stick to the California roll. Oh, right. You climbed a beanstalk.
Yeah, Jack was here today, and we had to climb that beanstalk. Hey, Nancy, how you doing? We don't have Kroger's. We have Fred Meyer. We've been there as well, too. Albertsons, the whole works. I've been to most of them. What are the best postcards to look for? You're going to have to watch a bunch of videos. That would take me all day to tell you the best postcards. I can give you the basics. California cards are the best. Baseball cards are the best. Real picture or real photo postcards, depending on who you talk to. Some people will call them real photo postcards, and some people will call them real picture. I've used both, I guess, recently.
This right here.
I could never get any traction on Hit Postcard. It was only good for cards that eBay won't allow, such as Third Reich or Confederate themed. You can sell Confederate postcards. Postal information and postal stuff I have been able to sell. You cannot put a Confederate, like if it's Sons of Confederate Veterans or something like that. You can't put Confederate and flag in it. I just put the designation of the veterans group as the title, and don't even list the word flag in the title, because technically, I've read over the thing, and I've talked to eBay about that before. Technically, I can list them. You can list Nazi postage stamps and covers with Nazi emblems on it. That is fully fledged in their category listings too, as are coins with swastikas. The other thing to consider too, this swastika, Nazi swastika, is actually stolen from several different cultures. It was a peace symbol. The American Indians had it. It was a peace symbol. You will see a swastika on 1910 postcards left and right.
Yeah,
you will see them on Santa Fe Railroad luggage labels as well too. The Santa Fe line, because it's a Native American symbol. It may not be turned exactly the same way, but you can sell a lot of Nazi paraphernalia like that. They sell all kinds of stuff, whether it's legit or not. But anyway, let's see. We do hip, and we have done fairly well. Hip postcards is and I've talked about earlier, is Stanley Gibbons. It's best for items like cheaper items. I sell mostly like $8 to $15 cards on hip. I haven't sold hardly any over that price, but I sell a lot of the cheaper cards, which is fine, so anyway. How are you doing, NASCAR man? Katawiki has intrigued me lately, especially for vintage toys. A site from the Netherlands which anyone can sell on. I'll have to check that out, Moronic Pest. I have not heard of that one.
Annie. Hippo card.
Yeah, hippo card.
Oh, Galveston, Texas.
It's hip postcards is what it says. Hello from Galveston. Welcome. We have been to Galveston before.
Oh, I have family in Dallas, Houston, Austin, Pasadena,
all over.
Amarillo.
I worked in Dallas as well for a while. Welcome, Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. If you haven't seen his channel, he has a very good channel. I just watched a couple of his videos today. He put up, I think you got 2 up today, 3, because you put up that little haul one. And he's got another one, I think, first thing in the morning as well, too. I have a ton with just a photo left. Sucks. Can't even tell which ones were affected. They really screwed the ball. I'm not sure if I guess I've lost something. You have a ton with just one photo left. You talk about your listings from the loss. Yeah, we still have some with only one photo. You can easily tell and fix those if you want. Just go to edit, and it's going to give you a recommendation on the ones that only have one photo. It'll say to improve your chances of selling, and it'll be on one of those. And if you check the little box in your edit window, you can literally adjust it from there. I know it'll take a little bit of time, but you'll know instantly how many. I just let it ride, truthfully.
Right here.
Hang on just a second. He going to get that one scanner you talked about. Yeah, Chris, definitely get that scanner if you're doing stuff like that. You can get a used one for about $100. It's an Epson. I think it's 580 is the brand. It's on the other side here. I do 4. Let's see here. NASCAR man. I do 4 for all my Hot Wheels. Do you think that's fine? 4 photos? Hot Wheels cars, I do 4 or 5, I would say probably, because we do sell Hot Wheels. If it's a red line, the more the merrier. I wouldn't do more than 5 or 6 most on that, or even a red line, truthfully. I sell them fine with 5 without any issues whatsoever. The collectibles and stuff, people are looking for them. eBay can't limit you on collectibles, as long as you're in good standing, because you may only have the one of only item up. Like you may have like a scarce, like a pink red line or something. For those of you who don't know, a pink metallic Hot Wheels red line is really like the primo car. The pink is usually the hardest to get color on any of the red lines. I've only had a few, and even in terrible condition with only a little bit of pink left, we still sold them for some really good money, which I was really surprised in the condition that we sold them in. So 4 or 5, I mean 4 should be fine depending on how good the photos are. Just my opinion anyway. I don't waste my time with extra photos. I don't waste my time with a lot of that stuff like specifics, item specifics. And again, I went over some of this and I literally broke down that in my Patreon videos. For those of you who just joined on to Patreon video 28 is literally, it should be actually up. It just hasn't been transferred from YouTube to Patreon. But that will be as soon as we're all done with the live show tonight. Let's see here.
Right here.
Hauptmann, I've experimented with selling 2 identical items. I detailed one basic title and basic sells faster. Do the opposite of what eBay wants you to do. Yeah, it can work, and I've talked about that too before. When you do a basic title, it limits the amount of information that you're giving out to the folks. More people are going to have to look at that listing. So you can get more listings or more viewers to your actual listing by putting less information in the title. Now, I wouldn't do that for clothing. Clothing, you got to have everything in there. Vintage collectibles and stuff that are rare, I honestly, and I've talked about this in many, many videos, including a good extensive one in the past, limits your information. I believe the video is titling, just type in titling in my how-to playlist, auctions, I think is what it says, or titling even, that should give it to you. But limiting information in many different categories will give you more looks at it. If you just put... real picture postcard in the town name, and that's it. You're going to get a ton of people looking at that image because they don't know. If they collect that type of item, they don't know what it's from. They're going to have to look at it. And you'll get all those people getting into your listing. It's like pulling a window shopper. And once you get them in the store, direct purchase sales and key points of sale, having the right item there. I mean, limiting the information. He is 100% right. I have done those exact same tests for many items. It doesn't work for every item, but for those specific items that, like a real photo or a real picture postcard, it most definitely does work. It will probably give you a better result than if you did a 1 or 2% promotion by far, no matter what. Or even if you did a 10% or 15% promotion paid to eBay, you would still probably do better off limiting the information in the title, and you're not paying eBay a dime. I've talked about this. I don't give out all of my secrets on that because there are ways to do stuff. There are some tricks. We've tested thousands and thousands of listings over the years, so that is a 100% way that does work, limiting the information in some specific listings. You're going to have to figure out the categories, though. Carl, most stuff I can get by with one photo. I would never do one photo, though. I would always do... I do 3. 3 is my minimum for anything. If you're doing like a postcard, even if you're doing a photo that's blank on the back, I always show the photo of front and back. What I do with the postcard, I'll do an enlargement with a zoom in, so my gallery image is big, and then I'll have an image of the actual item, fully showing I think it's a 1/4 of an inch border I have my scanner set up to. That scanner that I showed in the video there, you can set the border for it. Set yourself a 1/4 inch border and it scans perfectly every time. You can actually set up everything in the scanner so the second it hits eBay, it's all ready to go. No adjustments, no nothing. You can even set it to auto-fix the SKUs. You can even set it to, adjust the right-wise, and it does it by the actual text on the actual thing if it has text on it. Well, thank you, Ken Wins. I appreciate that. Thanks, Rob, as well. I appreciate that, too. Marikex 7, what up, Auction Professor? Not much, just another evening. We've actually got a drink, which I haven't even taken a drink out of yet, honestly. Taken. I took it out of.
Just have another drink.
Yeah. Drinking Tom Collins, if anybody knows what that is. Let's see here, photo plus 11 more. If you have one main photo plus 11 more in your description, eBay bots only see you as having one photo and will still recommend adding photos. Yeah, if you've got them in your description. And that goes back and proves my point. That's how eBay can tell that you have more than, or that you need one more photo. You have to actually up them through the photo aspect of it to do that. So you're always going to get that warning. And that just proves my point even further, that there's only one key photo tied to the actual listing. Everything else is pulled from a different location. So the only factor that they're double checking and making sure on is that you have more than one photo. That is all that I can see the system doing. It's almost been 100% confirmed to me by eBay back in June, as I talked about. So, that's a key plus to some extent. At least we know that the 12 photo, they're just giving you 12 photos. You don't have to have 12 photos. It's not going to affect your search results in the categories that I sell in. Maybe it's different with other items, but, a video game. How many photos of a video game would they make you do? It would just be pointless. It makes no sense whatsoever. These myths just drive me nuts sometimes. I've tested this stuff. Where are we at? I'm sorry. There. I called eBay for the first time last week. Operator was a very cool dude. I was falsely accused of drop shipping by the system, and I was going to lose top-rated status.
Ooh, that's awful.
They can tell. Now, I've been warning people this for years now. eBay can tell where you're mailing to, whether you're bypassing international shipping rules by sending stuff different ways, and all this other stuff. eBay and the post office have a very direct relationship now. They can see each other's information. We get notices like if I overpaid for shipping. I've overpaid for shipping, and I don't know how. I don't fight it. I just take the money back. I weigh everything out on a nice calibrated scale, so it's obviously them. I'm fine with it, but we've gotten 3 or 4 in the past 2 weeks that said I overpaid, and they gave me a refund. From the post office, I got the notices through eBay, which we've been getting these occasionally here and there. Out of the 20 some odd notices I got, once they said that I underpaid, and then I challenged it with proof, and then I actually came out ahead on my side either way. It took like a month to get that straightened out, but anyway.
These are just talking about the number of photos.
Yeah, but with the photos, I wouldn't do more than 3 on a postcard or anything. I don't care what anybody else tells you. I have empirical evidence versus just one store. You can't test anything on just one store. There's just no baseline to prove that that anything's going on with that. And again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I've tested it on 2 different stores. It's the only thing that will prove it to me. 2 identical items in 2 different stores. And as you saw, another person just said the exact same thing, Hauptmann, which is obviously a German reference there. So, other people have thought the same thing. You have to have 2-store test. You cannot test anything on eBay from one single store. They have to be on 2 separate areas. They have to be cleared browsers and the whole works to actually know what you're doing if you're going to be constantly doing all this stuff. Just FYI.
Duncan.
I don't need promoted listings. I just wait for the right buyer. That's exactly it.
One rich buyer. That's pretty good, though.
We have those same ones, just like Duncan's talking about. People still doubt that, you can sell this kind of stuff in collectibles. There's people that make a living on postcards. There's obviously people that make a living on posters. There's people that make a living on postage stamps. Everybody who's into sports should know that people make money on sports and baseball cards and all that stuff. I mean, you can do a complete living in just one single niche. So, I mean, there's just so much up with this. So,
Death piles.
how you doing, Death Pile?
Print me up.
Print me up. If you leave listings of more than 20 in the draft section for more than 3 weeks, then listings drop off from the draft section. How true is this, please? There's a 30-day cycle for most everything. Let's say, now this I'm sure it's the same way in your listings as you're talking about. And I'll say this with proof enough to say this. We hold people off for 30 days to pay. I've got 3 people that are purchasing right now to the end of this month. They're all purchasing basically the same items. These are people who do stuff for Christmas and are buying my items to do crafts and stuff for. And I've talked about these more in my Patreon videos. In fact, the Patreon video coming up tonight is going to address this exact thing. These 3 people buy from me throughout the month. If they've paid, like on, let's say last month, they paid on the 27th, they bought something on the 28th. On the 28th of this month, or it would be 30 days later, I can't invoice them for a group invoice anymore. And the 30 days is the drop-off time. So 30 days, anything in your souls, any of those listings in your hub, from everything I've personally seen in Factual, as well as calling eBay, shows up that way. So, there's a way to get around it. You can just add it into the shipping cost and mark those items as paid later. But it's a 30-day aspect of it. I don't know, maybe they left them on for 3 weeks and didn't realize the time, and it was actually 28 or 30 days. But 30 days is the for sure, for 100%. After 30 days, it drops off on my lists, on everything, on all my columns there. So that's what I see it as. Now, if you want to keep specific listing to do sell similar, set it up as a template. The other thing I would say is do advanced listings always, because there's all kinds of options that you can't get in the basic listing. So just FYI. He finally gave up.
I think he found something to eat in the
Yeah,
carpet.
somebody must have dropped something. Hopefully that answers your question. I do try to get to everybody's question, but I do want to answer all the questions in the order they came in. If I don't get to your question, you're welcome to come in a little earlier and try to get it up there. I do try, honestly, to get to all the questions, and I do appreciate everybody coming on. So anyway, I'm just going to try. Let's see what time it is. We can stay on a little longer today if we need to, so we still got some good time here. So
Yeah, I've come to that area where I'm like, I wished I could do more than 12 photos, but
yeah, Galaxy 5000. There are definitely some items that I would have wished I could have. If you have a big lot of something, we sell big lots of things. Sometimes there'll be 100 items in some lots, and you really wish. Now, you can do more than 12 photos. You just have to have a service.
Yeah.
Or you can actually have storage space. Now, you can use Divi Share if you don't know what that is, and actually add links in your description to those photos. So you can add more photos into there. It just takes basic HTTP and stuff, just basic skills from what I personally do. And that's how you used to have to add photos. You used to have to do IMG, SRC equals, and the source and all that stuff on there, just doing the coding, just to do any photos on eBay. Let's see here. How you doing, NH Guy? Print Me Up Live had listing up for 3 months before they start to drop. Oh, I'm sorry. 3 months. Yeah, I that may be the case on those. I never leave anything up like that, so I couldn't tell you.
Jane.
If you're talking about live listings, they never drop unless you keep them there and don't do anything with them. I can tell you 100% though, in any of the solds or any of that stuff, it's 30 days, 100%, because I have to deal with this from 3 people. Every single month I go through this if they miss it by a day or something. And I don't get mad or nothing. It just means I have to add the items that they bought and have to search differently and spend a little more time on it. No big deal. It's worth the massive sales we get from those people. Drafts. Yeah, you're talking about drafts. Sold my first eBay item today. Well, congratulations, Jane. Burge Flips. Hello, folks. How are you doing? Mitzi, there's 2 folks from Atlanta in here now. Ken Wins, how are you doing? Galaxy 500, we already talked to. Let's see, Berg Flips. He's got a question. Oh, well, you're welcome. I appreciate you coming on. Let's see here. Print me up. I think if your drafts stay in drafts for 30 days, they do. I was pretty sure it was 30 days, if I'm not mistaken, on drafts. I'm almost positive that's most everything is 30 days, but I could be wrong. That's Geezer Man calling that out there. Because I have called them, and they said that most of that stuff is 30 days. All you got to do is add it to your inventory little header there, and it'll stay in inventory for a heck of a lot longer until you actually do something with it. Let's see here. How'd you do on that Berg Flips to send the offers? Bubble Wrap Mafia. Louis Grace, how are you doing? Yeah, there's many ways to do things on Berg Flips. Sometimes you actually have to go back into the see my items on eBay, or I can't remember the link's called. I know where it's at. There's other ways you can go in and you can see different pages that you normally wouldn't see without clicking on a specific spot. I may go into that if some people have some questions on that. Where are we at here? You can slide it down if you want.
I'll give it a whirl.
And save it back to drafts, and it will give you another. Yeah, you can do that too. Geezer Man's giving you a good call out there. Yeah, I've never even checked on top rated seller there. Duncan, I haven't messed with that. How you doing, Rich Sanders? Berg, eBay told me they are doing it in batches. Just need to be patient. Yeah, that's what I said. They started the rollout. The technical date listed, and I just double checked this again, is end of April is when the actual update is supposed to be live. So they started rolling them out just over a week ago. Some folks like us had the new feature 4 or 5 weeks ago. I didn't even realize it for a couple days. It was probably sitting on the screen, and we all looked at it and didn't think a thing of it. West First Books. How you doing, West First Books? I saw your message in there on Instagram. I'll get to it hopefully tonight. I don't check it as much. You can see I haven't posted anything in a few days. Not trying to ignore you there. Do you run sales within the first 30 days of listings? No, never. Well, I'll have to take that back. I now have been running a sale on some of the older items, and depending on how I relist it, whether I do sell similar on a big group of 500 at a time or I do relist, sometimes it drops those same items in there. If you play around with your own sales manager, not the eBay part of it, the promoted where you do your own promotions, you can add all kinds of different reasons and things. I only do certain dollar amounts. I only do certain this, certain that, certain categories. I've got I think 12 descripting factors for most all of my my personal sales and manager markdowns on that. But I don't usually do anything the first 30 days. I let most everything run for at least 90 days before I mess with anything. Again, I've got a ton of items up, so I don't care if something sells now or a month from now or a year from now, because we get a ton of sales a day, and I don't have any consideration on that. Do we lose the spot again?
Yep.
I think we're way up there. Yeah, I think we're still farther up. Our feedback is terrible, our chat. I think we're even farther up than that, because I don't... Here we are, right there. Okay. Yeah, our chat is just terrible. Sometimes it says I got nothing, and then in a minute it'll stop, and there'll be nothing else. I can't scroll down, and then all suddenly it's got like 10 pages pop up in like 2 seconds. Yeah, I heard that they are rolling out offer to buyers in waves. Yeah, it's in waves. I already talked to them in person about that. I have to send offers on one of my stores and not on the other. Yeah, it just depends on what's in there, Tony. Aaron's got the thumbs up. Yeah, hit thumbs up, too, if anybody hasn't hit it, too.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Yeah, Tom Collins. I keep forgetting that I have it sitting here.
Yeah, I made it for nothing. All my blood, sweat, and tears. Now I need to get me a whiskey.
Not a whiskey person. I like clear liquor, I guess.
Clear
Tequila. Well, that's tequila, vodka and gin.
Gin.
That's what we drink.
Oh,
And wine.
Oh my gosh, like we drink all that.
No, we don't drink all the time. We've had the
We
same
just wake
bottle
up in the morning and drink.
maybe once a week or something. No, I need to get me some whiskey. We got that one. My eBay summary activity cell. That will get you to offer screen.
Oh, Sally Draper, yeah, on the Mad Men. She made her father some.
She's a
drinks.
big Mad Men fan, but I've never been. Rum Collins. No, Black Crystal Dice. I don't think I could deal with a Rum Collins.
A Shirley Temple. Hey.
No, I've got to have the alcohol in there. I'm sorry, NASCAR man.
Hi,
Hey,
Kathy.
Slow Gin Fizz, yeah, Annie. I mean, you got to have a taste for it, I guess.
Right here.
Clone Trooper, West First Books. I would not run sales on brand new items until they sit for a while. Yeah, I let them sit for a while. I'm not in a hurry. It's taken us a while to get to this point, though. You know, it was a tough going for a couple of years, and then pretty much we haven't been able to go wrong lately. I don't know. Everything just seems to fall into place, and I'm going to cross my fingers. You know, I mean, I haven't had a bad purchase. I haven't had. Geez, I can't tell you. Everything's pretty much been going fairly well in our favor these days, and it's, you know, I'm almost thinking something's wrong because it's going so well. You know, I mean, it's some days. Slow Gin Fizz. There's Geezer Man. Remember those too?
Let's have a beer drinking contest.
No, I'm not a big beer drinker, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess. Whiskey's quicker, I know, but wine is fine and whiskey's quicker. WGN for many years. I do not know who Tom Collins is, Berg.
Tom Collins is.
No, he's talking about a morning DJ.
Oh.
What city is that, Berg? Berg flips. Why don't you slide down? Hello, Flippin' Particles.
You're not with it, neither am I.
It's been a long day. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. Let's see here. Waxhaw Wonder. I had the same issue when I went to send watched offers. Just happening. Kay was using a Apple MacBook. There's something in the technology. I know for the most part, Windows has not had many issues. Maybe it's just an Apple update or something. I don't know. But I know some folks who don't have it. If you contact eBay, they can walk you through the process to check on your browser or something, or some update that you would need for it to run. Maybe it runs on JavaScript. I don't know what the case is. But I know in a lot of browsers, Java, not JavaScript, Java in general has been deactivated in some for safety reasons. Or some of the other actual add-ons for your browser. Just FYI. Let me slide down. Clutch Carson, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jolie Harrington. How you doing, Bill McCabe? Let's see here. Oh, York, PA. I've been to York before. Hey, Pat D72. How are you doing, Pat? Yeah, I always listen to other folks when I'm doing work, It seems like.
Jinx. Jinx is up in
She's probably all buried in the comforter.
on the sofa.
Nevada, happy to catch you. Glad to have you, Carrie. J.I., how you doing? Jocelyn, I'm sure I'm just pronounced it wrong. I'm sure that's J.I. if I'm not mistaken. 100 Child watching now. Well, hopefully that stays. So it goes up and down. I don't even honestly pay attention to it. Annie, is there actually a collectible category on Amazon? I'll tell you what it says. Just a second.
I know there's a handmade thing.
Yeah, we're on Handmade by Amazon too. And I also have Business to Business on Amazon, which we are. We have Merch by Amazon. Hang on just a second here. I'm just going to open up my Amazon thing real quick here. I don't remember what it says, honestly. We just use it all the time. I just click on the button. Well, I don't know if I want to mess with going and clicking and finding an item. It's basically, I'll pop that in a Patreon video. I'll show you exactly the title there in the next video. Again, the video 28 for Patreon is up like right this minute. The minute I'm off here, I'm going to just transfer it. So it'll be up in 10 minutes after we're off. I'll put that in the next video. Let me just write that down. There's historical, and then there's collectible vinyl, vintage vinyl. We can sell like collectible toys. I mean, I can sell anything historical in the historical section. The title for the category, I'm almost 100% sure it does say collectibles. I can tell you, though, that 9 out of 10 times you look, it's going to say not accepting new people to sell. Still send one in, because I did that. I sent it in even though it said not to. Let me just write that down, Annie. What it says, Amazon collectibles. Yeah, I'm almost sure that's what it says in the category. I don't want to spend 5 minutes doing it and looking for it, because it might take me a minute. I just click the same things day after day. I usually do sell similar on Amazon as well, too. You have that same option for you. So I'll just go into my actual inventory in Amazon, and if I'm selling a record or a card, I'll just click a pre-existing listing, and it just goes right over. That way I don't have to worry about doing anything else. Because I set up my own ASIN numbers, ASIN numbers for everything. You know, I just basically can put in a number that I want, and then Amazon supplies the actual Amazon internal number, whatever it is. I literally list mine by the actual bin numbers, just like you see on eBay. Those same numbers are on a descriptor spot on my actual Amazon listings. You can't see them as a buyer, but they show up every time something's sold, so that's what I use to pull my Amazon items.
I need to take care of the dog.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
She's taking care of one of our dogs.
Come on, Henry.
Our big boy down there. Hang on, where we go. So Annie, look out for that. I'll promise you I'll put that in next week's video for you. Yeah, Carl, Excel does rock. I am a huge Excel fan. Shelly Middlebrook, how are you doing? I don't have the make an offer feature in Seller Hub, but found it under summary, under right drop down, scroll to bottom. Yeah, if you have it there, if you call eBay, they should be able to tell you how to walk through it to get it in the hub. Because I'm almost sure maybe it's a CSS feature or something, cascading style sheet or something like that, if you know HTTP or HTML, I mean, in other words. I took CSS, was a class, it was included with JavaScript, so I bet you that's what it is. Now that I think, it was probably like a CSS anyway. That would be my guess. PTL, I'm ungated. Everyone gets advice to start with books on Amazon. Do you agree? Jane, Amazon, we did books on Amazon years ago, like 5 years ago. We did Amazon books for 3 years. We did clothing on eBay and Amazon books. Amazon changed the storage fees on us. Our bread and butter used to be like $3 to $5 book flips. We'd flip hundreds of them. But once they raised the fees, it brought it down to a point where it wasn't even worth us messing with it. If I'm only making 90 cents to, say, $1.50, I just didn't want to mess with the books anymore. So we stopped doing books on Amazon because of that. It will get you in the door, and it is easy. You don't need to be ungated. So if you're just starting off, you can, do the book thing. That does work. Groceries are pretty darn good with Amazon as well, too. And then Hub and Non-Foods, HBA, Health, Beauty Aids, and Non-Foods. Hub and Non-Foods is a grocery store term. I worked at a grocery food town around here. I did 7 stores when I was 17. That was a job I tried for a couple weeks and just didn't like the driving around and stuff. I don't care that they paid for the mileage. You work those jobs and you can end up finishing your job an hour from your house and then have an hour worth of drive, even though you started 5 minutes from your house. I just didn't like that. I had to order for 7 stores and used to have to drive to 7 different stores. I've had many different hats in my day. Always quit them all with, good respect. I always gave the 2-week notice. Other than one, I walked out on Cracker Barrel. It's the only one I ever walked out. I threw my keys at my boss and basically told him what he could do with himself, and I walked out. Didn't care. I had another job at that point. Anyway, I was literally running another very big establishment after that. So, anyway. Let me slide down here. Yeah, Lou Grace, I know exactly which video. I actually made a comment on Chris's video. And again, not to call out Chris or anything. I like Chris. Chris is like me. Chris is one of the few. There's Wade. I would probably put on 2 Wade's Ventures if you haven't watched him. And there's some other folks too, maybe Beer to Pick or something like that. But Chris might be the second person I have on a show out here. And I don't want to have a free-for-all on my channel with other folks on my channel. And I appreciate all the other folks and people who've put me on and stuff. I've got a different vision than a lot of people out here. You see me doing different stuff than most YouTubers out here. I don't want to have a flood of. I don't want my channel just to be a bunch of other folks coming on here. And I would love to help everybody else, but I've got specific goals for my channel. So I don't want to be. I don't know. I don't want to open my floodgates. Chris, though, Thrift Shop Hustler, will be on. I would probably guess you on one of these days. The problem, and Chris will probably agree, you have to have a baseline to prove that sales increase actually happened because of a promoted listing versus just pure someone being online. I have found through many tests, and again, the only way to run a successful, honest, repeatable, scientifically repeatable test is to have a baseline, meaning I have to have two different stores with the exact same items. One store has the discounts and the other store doesn't. And then, if and only then I see a big increase in one store versus the other, I have a baseline to say, hey, my sales were this way. I have the promoted sales. The promoted sales are up here. So yes, there is a bona fide difference. The one thing I can tell you, as I said before, is if you do like 15% or 20% or even 30%, I've heard people doing promoted listing, paying eBay that much, you're going to sell some stuff. You're going to have a major increase in sales depending on what you're selling. You'll have to raise your prices to do that. And I'm not one to play around with prices. I know there's folks that have talked about they play with their prices every day of the week. It's just not practical. And I know other folks have said if you do that, then your listings aren't visible. That's not true either. It takes 15 hours up to so many hours for your update to that listing to show. It doesn't mean that listing isn't visible. It just means that the update isn't going to be visible in the search criteria until then. So anyway, Chris has a good video on that. The only drawback, and I'll say this about anybody's video who's not doing two, and no drawback and no insult or anything to Chris, because I really like Chris, and I'm being sincere. Chris is a really good guy. He's a family guy. He's got a child. I am drawn to family guys. Chris does Gary V figure from a remod on another figure, and the guy is artistic. He has Evolos. If you check him out on YouTube, he's got some really neat videos on Funko Pops and stuff. So again, no disrespect to Chris at all, but you got to have a baseline. You have to have two of the same types of listings to compare them to, especially with what I sell, and I do that kind of stuff. If I run a test, I'm not running it on just one store and one specific grouping. I run parallel tests in two stores. It's the only way to do this, I'm telling you. It's the only way to have empirical evidence that shows that there's without a doubt, and I don't care about impressions. That means nothing to what I sell. Even watchers to some extent can and can't mean something, but impressions and views mean nothing in my book, because 100 people could be interested, like Hauptmann we were talking just a few minutes ago about limiting the information in your title. You're going to get more impressions and more views if you do that. It doesn't mean it's going to sell quicker, but for the most part, you will have more people window shopping in your store rather than looking from the outside, and your chances of selling that item are increased. So, I mean, there's other ways to increase your sales in certain items without doing any promoted. I can go into that in another video here in the future, but, you know, there are other ways to do that.
Where are you?
Right there. Let's see here. Interesting. I've started doing about 2% of all my. I think it helps. At least gets your listings better placement. You can get better placements in some aspects with doing promoted listings. It does do a secondary one that's up on the top. So there's technically like two listings, but not. I can see the push on it. If you're doing clothing and books, it might help you. I haven't run tests on those items, but collectibles, I can tell you I've run tests. I know my niches, and I know the items I sell because I make a living. This is all I do. I'm not doing this part-time. I'm doing this 60-plus hours a week, every single week for 7 years. You know, if I can't get better at this in 7 years, something's wrong with me, not with eBay.
Are you right here?
Yeah, I've already got that one.
Oh, okay.
Bubba Lubba Dub Dub. Yeah, that's us. Let's see here. Thanks, Carl. Yeah, Galaxy 5000 has it there. Use them with items with a lot of competition. Collectibles, if there's only a couple of them up, even if there's a dozen or two, don't do it on those listings because it's just going to take the right person coming in. Hang on, hang on, folks. I'm sorry. I don't want to miss somebody.
Oh, here's the other dog. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I just saw a super chat that looked like I had another. I don't want to miss somebody. I'm sorry. My feed's terrible. I don't know how to fix it either. I've called YouTube and sent in the requests. Well, thank you. It's Zombies. I appreciate that. Thank you. Carl, is that another one? You didn't have to do that, man. I appreciate the super chats, everybody. I honestly do. Here's Jinx now.
Jinx.
This is my babe, I guess you could say. Anyway, let me pop where we were again. My feed's just all over the place. So I'm sorry we didn't get to your super chats. But again, I appreciate all the super chats. It helps us do this. I have invested in everything we're doing. I have a new laptop, which is pretty much above and beyond what I made off of YouTube. All of the money goes back into here again. We're not pulling a profit off of YouTube at this point. So just a second here. Hang on, let me get to back where we were. My feed's just terrible. Let me see here.
You can have your hair back.
Okay, I think I got right back where we were. Again, thanks, folks, for those super chats. It's Zombies and Carl. I appreciate you guys. If I missed a super chat, I'm 100% sorry. I don't see anything else on here. I thought I saw another one, but my chat is just terrible.
It's lovely. I'm going to have dog hair all on my face now.
Probably. Excited to catch y'all. Well, welcome here, Tracy. Glad to have you. Jolie Harrington, I think it's still easier to send offers through eBay.com. I do everything from the hub. If you get the hub, do it through the hub. I'm telling you, you can just click, 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 click. I got a video literally on how quick it does. It takes a second. You Control-C and Control-V, the actual message you send them. So it's one message. All you're doing is put a price. It takes literally 20 seconds, I think it took me to do one of those.
I don't know where you are.
Annie's right there.
Oh, okay.
I still don't have send offers on my listings page, but get to the functionality via eBay Live page link I got. Try calling them, Carl, and see if they can walk you through how to set up. Because I've had several people tell me that, and I've gotten a recent text since we've been on live that says that as well, too. No, I'm not going to get mad about bringing promo listings discussion up. Not at all.
He just turns green and rips off his clothes.
I'm not that kind. I'm very blunt and to the point. So sometimes I come off like I'm being rude or crude or anything. I'm just business oriented when we're in this mood. I don't take anything personally at all. And if I say something that might seem gruff or something, it's never meant personally.
No, it's just you.
It's just me. This is me. I've been in a business as a regional manager. You just got to be blunt. You fire somebody, you fire them. Don't slowly pull a Band-Aid off. I just point it right out there. So again, when people have talked to me on the phone about business, or I've talked to folks and done some consultations for eBay, I'm very blunt and to the point. So I'm going to tell you if something's bad or you need to improve it. It's just the way I am. So again, I'm a fan of Chris's. Chris is a good guy. So no offense to Chris whatsoever. I'm just set in my ways. I do things by a book, I guess you could say, by my own book, I guess, especially with running tests. Do they have the big... we just lost it again. My feed just disappeared on me again. Oh, hang on. Let me see where we're at. Well, thank you, Tiffany. I see yours now. Maybe that's why it pops up. My feed is just terrible today. This is like the worst it's ever been. Well, thank you very kindly. Jinx has already run off. She's probably underneath a blanket somewhere already. She buries herself like a burrowing animal.
Right. We gotta go.
Where are we at?
You gotta go.
Okay, so hang on just a second.
You hit the wrong thing.
And again, thank you, Tiffany. Did I hit it wrong? Oh, here we are. I think we're okay here. Creative Business 339, Fancy Pink. How are you doing?
Oh, you were looking up here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hauptmann. Do they have the big Kroger styled after? Yeah, we've got those here. That's the one we go to. They've got sushi in there. They've got a jewelry store.
Oh, a jewelry store.
They sell even some appliances. Not appliances, I should say, like small style appliances. They've got a Starbucks full-size restaurant in there. They've got a deli restaurant where you can actually eat sushi in the Kroger's. They have a wine tasting bar in ours. Yeah. They've got whole clothing, as I said, jewelry and the whole works. So, and it's got a decent pharmacy. That's our favorite store, I guess. But we don't do any of that other stuff there, honestly. Sushi's about the one thing I only go there for. They're as good, if not better, than the sushi restaurant around here, I have to say. As long as you get them the day. We go in and they literally make them fresh every day. And the two ladies know us by heart. And
they're very nice.
I get the salmon roll. So
I think this...
Do you consider the cost to sell your item? Jolie has initial cost, store, etc. It goes down as I have them up, honestly. For me to list an item, it's 2 cents a month. in my first 10,000 listings. We're going to branch off and have a couple more anchor stores. I might have one titled The Auction Professor, just so everybody can keep track on it specifically. And so for 12 months, it's 24 cents to list an item. When I buy most everything I get comes in big bulk lots. So when I buy a bunch of stuff, I sell a couple items right off the bat. So usually the same day I list something from it, I've already sold something. If I list 100 items or whatever, I'm selling some of that. So usually I'll get the high dollar items and I'll sell those real quick. I'll get all my money back. I'll make a profit. So everything from that point on is gravy. I only have to sell one like every couple years of a certain grouping of stuff I bought to even make a profit on that. I mean, it's at 2 cents a listing. It's nothing. Even at 5 cents a listing, it's nothing because of the volume. I don't worry about that. What I really worry about is my bottom line, my daily bottom line. So we take home 80% take home net of everything that we sell on average. That is my average. 20% covers my cost of the item, my listing fees, my eBay final value fees, and everything. Everything but the final taxes I pay the U.S. government. Everything else is covered in there. I do net at their taxes at the end.
I was reading this one.
I have two books pulled down in my shop, suspended for showing a swastika on the cover 2 years ago. David Rubino. Well, it depends on what the book is. You can sell, as I said, you can sell. Books might be a different story. What you can sell, though, is philatelic, postal covers, postcards, and money, and stamps. All that you can sell with swastikas on it. All of it. And it says that on eBay as well. Now, some of the other items, if the book was like a military-style book, specifically tied, printed by the Nazi government, depending on where it was open to sell, it's against the law to sell those items in European countries. It is against the law to sell to Germany. If you had Germany clicked on an item that had a Nazi emblem on it, they would probably do that to you, I can tell you right now. If you shipped worldwide and you didn't ban that item for being shipped to Germany, you would be being able to be dinged because you were violating the law by actually advertising that to be sold to Germany. Just FYI, I've run into that before from somebody else.
Right here.
Have I ever sold? Yes, we've sold a Prevost. If you know what a Prevost is, it's a $250,000 RV basically that they use for tour buses, and we sold one for a friend actually. I've sold numerous things for friends and family before.
Big crystal chandelier, hot tub.
Inside the Prevost, yeah. That was inside of
I
a
could have
mobile
lived
home,
there
yeah.
and been happy.
It had 24 karat gold. Not this one, but some of the Prevosts do. We've been in some tour buses. We've been in Loretta Lynn's. So she stayed at a park we were in. It was kind of interesting, but is anyone having issues with electronics? I don't mess with electronics just because there's too much issues with those. Thanks, Jesse J. Let's see here. Dan Donaldson. How are you doing? Also enjoy the Sea Glass episode again. I had no idea. Yeah, free stuff. It's free. And that's not some joke. Every day of the week, if you look up Sea Glass, what sells, you're going to see it selling. And some of it sells for insane amounts of money. And I'm just shocked when I see stuff like that. But we've messed with it before. I have people send it to me occasionally. Do you offer a service or pay to assist resellers with marketing for item and don't think eBay is the best place to promote it, but don't know what to do with it? If it's a high dollar item, cosmic thrifter, check out Heritage Auctions. That's who I use to sell high dollar, rarer items that's not really suited for eBay. There's some items that I do straight to an auction house. I'll have them put it in a catalog and they will auction it that way. Just FYI, Heritage Auctions. You can look them up. They've got a big site. It's a good company. I've never, ever had an issue with them, and I still think they still do free appraisals as well, too. You're welcome as well, Cosmic Thrifter, to post a picture of it in my Facebook group. Again, we are on Facebook, Patreon, and Instagram, all under the Auction Professor. Thanks, Duncan. I appreciate the spider there. Duncan's trying to be funny now. Again, hit the like button. I know I'm terrible. I always forget to say stuff like that. You know, just like, you know, the super chats. Half the time until somebody does one, I totally doesn't even sink in that I even have that feature until I see it again.
I'm gonna have to get you a little paperweight with the funnel web spider.
No.
Spider
We've had one of those.
Set it on your desk.
Robert Koppel, I don't have the offer to sell. Colibin was just told it was coming. I was hoping to try this after watching Don's video. Again, it depends on who you talk to. If you've got U.S. support, ask them and tell them that several other people have actually said that there's some update that needs to be done and that they could walk you through it and see if they can do that for you. I know they're sending out a link to some people, too, if there was some technical glitch. Yeah, thanks, Carl.
Yeah, Carl's nice. Okay, let me try this out.
Hey, it didn't slide and bounce
Well,
over.
don't jinx it.
Moronic Pest. For red lines or slot cars, I use 6 photos minimum, front, back, top, bottom, left, right. Yeah, it depends on the dollar amount of it. Sometimes I'll put some more. Slot cars are a different story. The roof support by the windshield on a slot car is key. That is one of the areas, if I need to show a couple extra clips of a slot car, I will do that specific one. It's the post that goes at the windshield that supports the roof. Those are usually the weakest point in a slot car. That's usually the first thing that goes. So that's the one area I always tend to show in there too. Let's see here. For red lines, take as many photos as you can. Hot Wheels collectors want to see every part.
Yeah,
that may be true. I though, for the most part, don't do more than 5 or 6. Chris may be dead on that one. I just don't do a ton of them because of time factors. Most red lines, as long as the picture's a real good picture, I still sell it. I only mess with red lines if they're going to be selling on their own. If not, I just dump them in a lot and take whatever. We've got so many items here, it's just not possible.
I used to play really rough with the ones from the 70s, me and Billy.
We just put firecrackers in them as a kid.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And not the firecrackers you get these days. I'm talking the real ones that could blow off a finger or something back in the day.
I used to blow up Weeble houses and stuff.
We used to tape M80s to them, and the M80s back then were like the real cherry bombs. I actually have a cousin who's missing a couple fingers from a cherry bomb back in the day. That's when they banned them back in the 70s when I was a kid.
Good old days.
8, 9, 10-year-olds were playing with that kind of stuff. I was a perfect example of that. Yeah, the best one, NASCAR man, is the bottom of the car. They want to know that it says Hong Kong on it. It's one of the first things. Pat pending is always good. The markings on the bottom of those cars are key to it actually being a red line. There's reproductions. There's people who do mock versions. So man, I've had an itchy nose all day long.
It's the dog hair.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the dog hair. It's bugging me.
I'm glad I picked her up so it
yeah, thank you.
Go right directly to you.
Yeah, bottom. Yeah, Tom Collins is good, Dan. Thanks, Pat. I appreciate that. I use Chrome. Tried logging in on MS Edge web browser. Still nothing. We'll try with Firefox next. Someone said to look under summary, all activity listing summary, but no option either. Is it worth selling items for other people? For selling items for other people, I would take 40% after the fees have been paid. That's just my take on it. That's what we've always done.
And their firstborn child.
Well, we haven't gone that far yet. We don't need any more kids right now. The only other thing I could say is if it's a friend or family, we've done it for, they just pay the fees and listing. I've done it for people, in need. I'll do that too. Before it darts around there. We still got a little time, so no big deal here.
Oh, right here.
Oh, Lou Grace, you don't have to take it that way. I've just done this for a long time. Anybody who's doing something for a long time should get better. I mean,
yeah.
We didn't know everything back in the day. And there's so much I don't know. The areas that I sell in, though, I will challenge most people on. I do make mistakes. I do make, obviously, mistakes. But I can't, I've learned from years and years of doing this. We have sold full-time for 7 years. We have sold on eBay since day one that they were called eBay, pretty much. So we sold when it was mostly just Pez. So, you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. You figure out any kind of ways or secrets or method that works for you, any way to cut time, any way to cut anything off. That's why I don't do as many photos, because we can list. Today we probably went through, I think, like 230 or maybe 240 listings were listed today. That's with 4 different people listing today. Some more involved items, so it's not just simpleton stuff. I had some good cards listed. So, that's just what I look for. Quantity is key. So 5, 6 photos and we cut it off. Unless it's like a lot, as I said. Some items I do more. If it's like a $20 Hot Wheels red line, I'm not going to spend the extra time to do 12 photos. It's going to get 5 or 6 and that's going to end it there. If it's a postcard for eBay, I always do a large scan of the stamp as one of the pictures. I don't do the stamp just because there's so few postmarks in this country that are worth anything here. I did score by accident. I got a postcard from 1874 that's an advertising postcard. I'll post a photo of it tomorrow in Instagram for those interested. But it's the second oldest postcard I've got. The only other one of this postcard that has ever sold went for $200 in a bin. I'm thinking this one's worth $400 plus. Again, I'm going to post it on Instagram, and I'll keep you posted on it so you can see what I'm talking about. It's an oddball size. It's something I've never seen before. I mean, it's very rare for me to run across a card like that I haven't seen, but very interesting. I was really excited when I saw it, so anyway.
And he's saying 50% is his charge.
Yeah, I see 40, 50%. We do 40. It's usually people we know, so I'm not too greedy on everything.
And Carl.
Yes, if you only do one photo, it's going to affect your sales. It's going to, for sure. From my personal tests, yes. And I can say for sure between two stores. And then going back again to June, eBay only has the one photo tied to it, so they can instantly tell the minute that you don't have a second photo. And as someone else had said, even if you put the photos tied to the listing in the HTML code, it's going to still say you only have one photo. So that's your key thing there. So I would always have two photos. It has to pull that second through the 12th photo. It's pulling from another server. So that action of it actually conversing with another server is its key to say, hey, this person doesn't have enough information. That would drop you down in search results from my personal tests. And this is many tests over time. So I would honestly say that they are 100% correct. If you only have one photo, you are going to be hurting in sales.
Right here.
Yeah, fakes on there, Hauptmann. There are tons of fakes on
like
German
the depression
photos.
glass.
Depression glass. She used to have
yeah.
hundreds of pieces, but
I had the Madrid pattern, the cabbage rose.
Sharon Cabbage Rose,
Yeah.
yeah. But they flooded it
But
with
the Madrid patterns were, oh my gosh, a lot of them were just saturated with
half of them were
reproductions.
fakes.
Well, no, just reproduction.
Well, that's fakes.
Yeah.
They're trying to pawn them off as real ones.
Yeah, they were.
If you look on German photos right now, the market is flooded. And half the ones I see nowadays, they're listed as originals in the original category section, original vintage World War II items, but you look at it and it's reprints. And I used to complain about stuff like that, but I'm not wasting my time anymore. He's exactly right. That was a thing. Activa gives you 24 photos. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about the extra photos. I'm not going to pay somebody to add more photos in my book. Just my personal opinion. Nothing wrong with those two. There are services we've looked into, and with the amount of listings just for one store, it would cost me almost $1,500 a month, and I'm no way going to sink that in. As I've said before, I'll pay an employee, half that to run it. So it's just not worth my time.
This one, I was laughing about that.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. I
Excuse me.
appreciate that. Pat's got a pretty good channel too. If you haven't seen it, he does stuff with Scott as well. The Bearded Picker. Those guys are all real good guys. So just FYI.
And he's asking that one, and that just.
Oh, we got another one. Well, thank you, Cosmic Thrifter. Cosmic Thrifter, thank you. They are numbered photo collections of. I'm not sure how to even pronounce it.
Barnum Bailey.
If you're talking about the Ringling Brothers, if it's a circus performer photo or something like that, you're going to make some good money if it's vintage. We've sold sideshow performers, most every Barnum Bailey one, especially if it's a CDV. We had a couple Tom Thumbs not too long ago. Those always sell, and especially if they say P.T. Barnum or Ringling Brothers or something on it, even if they're newer ones, they're still worth some decent money, at least from my personal experience. Again, thank you so kindly for the super chat. Again, it really helps us support the channel. If you haven't watched enough of my videos, you know that I really try to put out honest, good, solid evidence and tested material out here for you. I'm not going to waste your time with thoughts, thinks. I'm not going to give you something that is just going to get me some views and not help somebody. I was at the bottom of the rung. We weren't making much when we first started, so I know where it's at, and I know we've worked hard to get to where we're at. So,
Right, Linda has a question.
He's asking that one. Yeah, okay, hang on just a second. Let me slide down. How do you add the see my other items in your description? When you're at the actual page for adding your information, there's a drop down on the right, and you can add several different options. You can add see my other items, or what's the other one? There's like 2 or 3 links you can add. It's just literally a drop down. It's right above where you type in your information. Now, I don't believe you can do that from your phone. I believe it's only from advanced listing tools as well. So keep that in mind. If you're just doing basic listing tool, you're not going to see all that extra stuff. That's why I say I always use advanced. I don't think we've ever used anything else since they changed all the options around other than the advanced listing tool.
That's nice right here.
Well, thank you, Charles Lowe. Again, I do have a Patreon group. if you want to get the most out of it, the $9.99 option, and I don't really call out my Patreon too much. I'm sure people don't hear much about it. I've had people who've watched my show for a long time don't even realize I have one, but we do have a Patreon page. The $9.99 option is the one you get all the videos, everything other than a conversation with me on the phone. I'm actually going to be dropping that feature just because I don't want to spend the time. Our son's got some more medical tests to be done real soon here, and we're just kind of limiting our time on stuff like that. But the $9.99 gives you all the basic stuff. You'll get all the videos. Right now, there are 28 videos up, a month's worth of videos here on YouTube, and they're more in-depth and more specific. There's some bolos. I've been doing a big string of bolos. I've got another bolo coming out this weekend for Patreon only. But they're not just a bolo like you see here on YouTube. They're very specific. I can't tell you to get every single specific item, but I can tell you where we make the most money on, and that's what the bolos are in my Patreon group. I'll go into other things. If you're not interested in making your own stuff and stuff like that too, some of the videos won't be helpful to you, but I go into making your items. The best way to make money and to continuously make money is to have... Again, if I haven't called out, again, I appreciate all the super chats today. We've got quite a few here. Let me just touch on this again. With the best way, I've totally lost my train of thought here. Shoot, we'll go out. I'll come back to that in a minute. I totally lost what I was going to say on that one. I'm sorry.
Have another Tom Collins.
Yeah, maybe it's not enough Tom Collins. That could always be the case here. Let's give it a shot.
And he's just answering that one. Right.
My new listings are now good until canceled. I cannot just list the 30 days. Yeah. They've been rolling it over. I got the notice a couple days ago. Probably was on there. I don't worry what it says. We've already switched all of our activity away, so I don't even ever have to worry about the 30 days anymore. I've figured out other ways to do everything else we were doing. So I'm just rolling with the punches now. Do you put your artwork on your Amazon merch? My Amazon merch, the shirts and stuff are... nothing you'd recognize. My name's not tied to it or anything. We have several other actual names. I've got DBAs. I've got several DBAs. So, Jane, I appreciate that too. Thank you very kindly for the super chat. Again, it's with this help that we're able to do stuff. And again, I haven't spent a dime on anything personal. Every dime we've gotten from all this literally has gone right back into it, even to the screening and the green screen and the lighting and. Again, I've got a special laptop here trying to alleviate some of the issues here because of our internet connection. Hopefully it'll help us bring some other feeds in here. The laptop now cannot run two cams here in the house at the same time very effectively, and that is my biggest problem because I want to have more interviews and more things going on, but I just can't do it with the laptop. So we did invest money into a laptop.
Oh, maybe I thought I messed it up. It's right here.
How you doing, Primetime? Hit me up, Primetime, too, if you were still interested in doing what we had talked about, I think a month or so ago. I didn't forget, so if that still is on the table, I would be game for that. Just let me know.
Right here.
Thank you very kindly to Creative Businesses. Again, without the support, and even just people watching and leaving the thumbs up and leaving comments, that all helps the channel. Telling your friends if you honestly get something out of this. I had somebody I had talked to and in my Facebook group, and they made a comment. They sold the postcard the other day for $500, and it was one that they didn't know what to do with. They asked me, and I gave them some advice. It's the highest item they have ever sold in their life. For the biggest profit ever was a postcard, which they have had no clue on. I get that kind of comments all the time lately, and I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to say I'm anything better than anybody else. I've just done it for a long time. Anything you do, anybody who practices a sport or anything, you get better with time. So,
unless you're me.
Well, you got really good at some good things, so we can't criticize that. But, you know, you're going to get good at it, and you're going to get to know how this all works much better. So, I'm dropping books, selling Fulfilled Prime now. I'm doing pretty good. I have great sources for the books, though. I can't get books around here for any reason. Well, there's scanners galore around here.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be scanning. There's no savers, so that was the biggest source for books.
And the person who rolled out the cart of books hated having to go out on the floor.
Yeah, because everybody bombs it. Around here, Goodwill scans books.
Yeah, they do.
Salvation Army scans books. No savers. So, you know, the limited, I'm so limited in clothing and all that stuff. So even if I wanted to sell clothing, which I don't ever want to sell clothing again, I couldn't do it. There's nothing wrong with selling books if you have the source, though.
Right here. You and Rakin both.
Yeah, I heard he worked there, too, at one point. I was actually a manager. I ran the store. The regional came in one day. They got on to me for... Geez, I was talking privately with somebody, and one of the truck guys was there, and he was eavesdropping on our conversation. We were outside. There was no guests or nothing. And my boss came in to lecture me on my conversation. And in all honesty, we were talking about reselling something on eBay, believe it or not, back in the day.
And you were wearing a Beatles tie or something, and he took offense to the Beatles tie.
I don't think that was it. I think we were talking. I don't remember the whole story, but it was over a Beatles tie. It started off with it was an Apple branded Beatles tie, which sell very well, mind you. And anyway, the boss came in, and I already was looking for another job that paid more at this time.
Yeah.
Little did he know, I already had an offer on the table for Gaddy's, and it was basically, they were giving me the whole works. So I had everything. We did TV commercials, and the family was all included in everything. My boss was awesome. Still get messages from him as well, too. There's a few bosses. Not Lou is my boss, the one that I always remember, and he's my fave anyway. But so anyway, I walked in and threw the keys at him and said, "You can have them." He couldn't even write me up or do anything for that. Not that he could have. I would have challenged it anyway. But
right there.
Doing, not doping. Laughing, okay. Yeah, Primetime Treasures does have a decent channel out too. I'm sorry. I'm bad on calling out stuff, and it's not intentional, but it's just me. I think we just...
Right here. No, it's... Oh, well,
now we just lost it.
Oh, man.
We just lost a whole bunch again. Hang on just a second here. We're running close to the end, but we'll go on until 9 o'clock here. We've got another 20 minutes,
Did you get
though.
this one?
Tiffany, again, I've got 2 from you. Thank you for... Or is that the same... I'm sorry, I've got quite a few super chats. I guess I'm totally off. If I didn't call you out, Tiffany, I'm sorry. I know we've done that one already. Slide down further.
Okay, yeah. I'm afraid to touch the darn thing.
I'm not sure what I'm correct on, Chris, but hopefully it's something good.
Prime time there. You want me to attempt?
Yeah, slide down. I think we just went too far. Yeah, our chat's just all over the place. I'm sorry.
No, it was right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, there we are.
And he's saying, no offense taken, Don.
Who said no offense taken? Oh, okay, yeah, Chris, I would never want... I'm not looking to offend you. I'm just business oriented. I'm just going to say it like I personally feel. And again, nothing personal. If we're talking and we're in public and we're hanging out as friends, you won't hear me like this, honestly. We're just pretty much joking around and goofing off. I've got my business hat on today.
Oh, Jinx is the cutest. And she knows it.
Yeah, FBM books you can do too, but I wouldn't do that on books at all. I would only do books FBA. You're just going to be spinning your wheels on that one.
Are you?
Yeah, you can go down. They're just answering each other for Mark Tatum. Hey, Landshark Picker. Again, another person with a channel there. He's got a pretty good channel. In fact, let me do this before I forget. Okay, there we go.
Oh, just achieved top seller status. That's
well,
nice.
Congratulations, smart and suave gal, I guess we can say. It's Zombie. I watched an older video about action figures, and you talked about wanting to cast action figures more. Have you had any recent success? Yes, we are actually doing stuff like that right this minute. I've even got Tenacious Toys is going to be putting some of those on there. We've got a vacuum table here to produce the actual bubbles. Got the figures molded. I have a molding cast, and I just got, for those in Patreon, you're going to see some of the molding material. I just got some fresh in to do some casts. We are doing action figures. We're going to be doing some TV-related ones and things along that line, too. So, yes, I've got the clown going back online, my killer clown from outer space. The trilobites, we've sold some of those. So, again, things are moving along.
Right there.
Oh, thank you, Primetime Treasures. I appreciate that. Again, if you ever want to check out somebody else's channel like Primetime or Chris's Thrift Shop Hustler, if you click next to their name, the right of their name, the 3 dots come up and you can click a button and it'll actually take you to their page.
Primetime has a question right there.
Yes, I sell quite a few items in the adults only section. Mostly vintage mags and 8mm movies, stag films, and things like that. I don't talk about them because it's adult material, so I don't put any of that out on here. But I've got 1,000 adult magazines, all vintage, all pre-70. What?
That time when we just thought it was like old movies.
Oh, yeah, we were watching some movies, some 8mm, because we go through most of those. Because you can sell 8mm films for way more if you can see what's in them. So I play every single 8mm home film I get, and a bunch of them turned out to be adult material.
Yeah, and I'm like, Don, turn it off,
Dog
because the
Hero.
boys
Our
were...
kids, we watch them as a family sometimes. My son loves the World War II.
Not the adult ones.
Not the adult ones, yeah, of course. But yeah, so you got to watch out.
Yeah, because it wasn't, we thought it was something else, and it was not.
Yeah, you never know. You can slide down. So yes, Primetime, I sell hundreds of adult material a month, probably on average. Magazines are mostly we'll get early style magazines with pinup style. You can list some of them in the non-adult section depending on the title too, so just keep that in mind. It just depends on the title and how adult it is, I guess you could say. It's still technically all adult, but... Let's see here. Hang on just a second. Okay. What's that one? That crazy card. They have no rights in Europe anymore. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe I'm missing some. Hang on. Oh, yeah, I just learned that lesson and moved it all over there. Don't want to mess with that stuff. I've had issues with Native American stuff recently. If you're talking about, like, there's many laws. You can't sell any Native American item to Georgia, and there's, I think, 2 states now that'll do that. You have to have physical paperwork in hand to prove that you got them legally. So just FYI, if you're talking about Native American stuff, you can get in some big trouble for that, because there is laws nowadays for that.
Alcohol and fireworks don't mix. Do you want me to go down?
Yeah, we've got some major magazines that we've sold for some really good money, honestly, adult magazines. And I'm talking some big money. We've had, Playboy #1 a couple of times as well, too. Even a bad copy of that goes for $2,700. That's our last one we sold for. How to ship an item without the fear they might exchange it, for example, a digital camera. There's not much you can do about that. I don't know any way to stop that whatsoever. Yeah, I've got dog hair all over, so yeah. I don't do any drugs like that, so don't. It's dog hair, I promise you. And again, Cosmic Thrifter, thanks again. I see that it's coming up here now.
You want me to?
Yeah, you can slide down.
Right here?
Would you sell an album of personal color photos of military hardware individually or as a lot? I would sell it as a lot unless it's really old, James. So World War II, some of those might go individually. It depends on what it is. You're welcome to post a photo in our Facebook group, and I can take a look at it. I probably am not going to be on till night. I try to get onto Facebook 2 days a week these days. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get on 3. My priority is... I check every one, so I've answered every single question that I've seen on Facebook, but it may take me a few days to get to it. I always try to hit my YouTube first and Patreons first. They're tied in that same ways, and most of the time I always check Patreon in the mornings, every morning. So if you're on my Patreon group, I try to look at every single one of those, and if those in Patreon know I answered every single question. Even if I do it in a video in a couple days, I'll tell you that. Hey, Swamp Picker, how you doing? Check them out as well, too, if you haven't. And Frost, I'm in Australia, so a lot of things that sell there. Slide it down so I can see the rest if you don't mind. Post them somewhere and link to them with HTML in the description, all for free. Yeah, as I said, you can post... I guess I'm reading 2 posts. I'm sorry, they just kind of blended together and don't sell. Let me go back up there. So a lot of things that sell there don't sell as well here. Any idea how to find what sells here? Go to your main site, Ann Frost, and actually look and just type in like rare. Type in the word rare if you're looking for vintage collectibles. Type in postcard. Type in a keyword, just 1 or 2 words, and just randomly look through things in the collectibles category, and you're going to find out. I do that all the time here. I think once or twice a week I run into something I've never seen and something that can make me some big money. A subscriber turned me on to something, and we've now made some good money just from something that was just a crazy out there thing. So you never know what's going to turn up at any given time. So just take that into consideration. Where are we at, Moronic?
I think Jinx has a hairball. She's hacking.
I couldn't hear it. Yeah, Annie's talking about you can post and use HTML and add them to your description. I use DiviShare for extra photos, and all of my MP3 clips I use DiviShare to post them in there too.
Oh, something just popped up.
Yeah, that's from our graphics program. Why it's running there now, I don't know. Cosmic Thrifter, post a couple pictures of those in my Facebook group if you don't mind. I will be happy to give you a personal idea and recommendation on those. I have to see those.
I'll be right back. I'm going to check on Jinx.
Yeah, that's fine. I have to see those, though. It's hard to picture it in my head. There goes my feed again. Hang on just a second, folks. I know Annie was the last one I saw, and there we go. You can use to put in links to your... Yeah, you can do that too, but there is a drop-down menu on that as well on your listing. Photographs all numbered and labeled by the company and certified. Yeah, I would want to see those if you don't mind. When is the making of Christmas Ornaments video come out? Charles, I'm still... I touched on some of it in my Patreon group, and I still have the video sitting there. I've been fighting with that one here. I'm probably going to shove it out either way. There's so many different varieties. I almost thought about mixing it back up and showing several different types. I'll try and get it out next week. Let me just, either way, I've already said I was going to do it, so let me just do that and have it out next week. It is done. It's already been edited. I've just been pushing other stuff. Like today's video was going to be something else, but I've had so many questions on like how to do the new feature that I decided to switch that up. Tomorrow's a Bolo video, and that's already done too as well. But let me just put that down here, the Christmas video. It's not a, I think it's a 14 or 15 minute video. It's pretty basic, but it'll show you, you're going to have to do a little searching on it as well to see more of the information on your own. But it's a very viable means to make some money, in all honesty. I'll go into it detail when I post the video though. So, again, sorry about that, Charles, but I will get it up next week. Either way, one way or the other, it'll be up next week for you. I'm sorry again. Yeah, Moronic Pest, you see you're talking about the Octavia. I'm not going to pay again, but again, it does work. Welcome from Minnesota. I have a friend in Minnesota, actually. Welcome, Tim. There goes my feed again. I just saw Primetime Hustler had said... Not Prime. Where am I? Hang on. I'm sorry. My feed's just terrible. Yeah, drop me a line if you still want to do that Primetime. Yeah, and Annie's going on. Whatever makes... I suggest things. For some people, it may not be the best thing, some of the things I suggest, because you may have a better system for some things. So, take it with a grain of salt from any person on here. No one has the 100% right way for every seller. It's just not possible. I could never claim that at all. Yeah, it's the fees that I worry about, and I'm not adding too many fees to my stuff. Let me see here. Yeah, Annie's talking with Ann Frost here on that too. I only do sell-through rate for a category to see if it's worth selling in. For my own store, I never worry about a sell-through rate. Ever, 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 ever. In my store that I share, I'll take that back. I do worry about it on RA items, so a different story. But with collectibles and stuff and the vintage and the stuff that I sell here at the store I share with you, I do not ever worry about it. If I'm making $800 a day, and that's been our average for quite some time or higher, I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. I worry about how much money I'm bringing to the bottom line every day of the week, and that's all that matters to me. It's all a cost of doing business. Just like when I RA or Scott or somebody else in Beer Picker's doing something, people say, well, all that gas you're using. Gas is just a cost of doing business. I'm making a ton of money for whatever I do, so I don't worry about those costs. My listing fees are just a cost of doing business. So, if I'm spending a lot, my bill for eBay this month on one store is $3,500. In a couple stores it's that much. It's a cost of doing business. Obviously, I'm doing a horrendously amount more than that, so I'm making up the difference. So you can kind of figure out how much I sold in a month by doing that in the store, because I've given you out the information. I'm not going to go dwelling back into that, but there goes Pat again. Thanks, Pat. I appreciate that. And eBay is the best place for postcard prices across the board if it's on eBay. And I've got several videos literally just talking about how to figure out prices for postcards that you can't find on eBay, because there are many ways to get a price for many specific postcards from specific cities. It would be a little bit too much time to explain that to you here, but I've got 3 or 4 videos just on that aspect of it too. We're about down to the end here, so let me just see if I can get a couple more questions in before I have to end it here. I don't know if the wife's going to get back beforehand, but we'll see here. I have sold coin auction style for 5 years, but do you believe it's better auction or bin? Really need your advice. Roger Martin. Depends on the coins you're selling, I guess I would have to say. On coins even, or tokens, I still do those as a bin for all those with the best offer. I'll price them higher than other people. If you do an auction, if you're doing an auction on something like that, you're running the risk that the right people aren't online, and you won't have a bidding war to raise the price. And in many times these days, the auction will go for less than a bin on collectibles, vintage, and antiques. And coins and stamps and stuff fall into that category. Duncan's another example from Australia, the one we've been talking to on here. That is another perfect example of bin it. Bin everything. Bin it up high on stuff like that. And that's what I would do personally. It depends on, again, as I said, it depends on the actual coins. If there's a ton of people and a ton of competition, that way may not work. I know coin collectors and dealers have been telling me, and I know 2 or 3 fairly well that we talk to. One's got a channel as well that I watch and talk to occasionally. But they buy coins off eBay and then turn around, grade them, and then make a ton of money off of sellers on here. So a lot of the ones they get are from auctions, or they're underpriced in general. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people don't know the condition on coins, and I'm not saying you are one of those folks there or anything, but Roger, there are a lot of people who don't know the conditions and undergrade them, and a dealer can come in and buy them and grade them, and then get a higher grade and then turn around and sell profit. The same thing works for baseball cards and comic books. Hopefully that answers it. Americax7, thank you for what you do for resellers. You have a lot of energy. Well, I appreciate that very kindly.
It's almost 9.
Yeah, I know.
There she goes.
There's the dog. Karen K, just wanted to say thank you. I'm a new seller and have been watching you and learning for about a year. I'm doing great as a new seller. Thank you so much. Again, Patreon, nobody has to sign up for Patreon. I appreciate anybody who does. I do try to give priority to Patreon pretty much over everything else. So, it's the 9 o'clock hour. We're at the 2-hour mark. So I don't want to cut anybody off. If you have any questions, again, if I didn't get to your questions, and I know there's quite a few, it looks like, put them in the comments section down below. Don't put them here if you want that question answered. Put them in the comments section here. The one video I do always try to respond to are my live videos. So I don't always answer questions on any of the other videos, but the live ones I always try to answer, just because you've taken the time to come here and sit through the live show. And for those of you who I do miss on the questions, I do apologize. But again, as you see, I do answer every question in the order they come in to the best of my ability. So again, if you have any questions, please, for dear sake, put them down below, especially if it's something that you really need to know to help your store or to increase your sales. Put them down in the comments section as soon as this video is done. The last call out I'll do is to my Patreon. Again, video 28 will be up in just a matter of minutes as soon as we're offline. And we're going to end it from there. So we will both say good night.
Bye.
Have a good day. Hopefully everything goes well for you, and glad to have everybody on for tonight.